The summer convention blitz is now finally complete. TFCon Toronto, San Diego Comic-Con, Montreal's Otakuthon, all behind me now. My voice is shot. I am damaged. Hopefully I will repair, but at least the podcast will not suffer moving forward for the next couple of months. We don't have any major conventions until at most late October. So let's jump into it today here on the Transformer Slag podcast. We are back, and we're going to be covering a long-form interview with the Hasbro staff and Hasbro Pulse crew that was done by Alex from TFW 2005. I kind of broke it down and took apart the really important stuff to discuss here. This was Hasbro Pulse's crew of Evan, Nate, and John, and we're just going to jump into it and make sense of it like we always do here, and let me know what you think about all of this. So one of the first things that was discussed is the finishing of micro collections and little sets within the Transformer brand. Target Masters, Headmasters, smaller teams like the Trigger Cons and beyond. And Evan mentioned that, like Mark is always keeping a tally of that. Even Evan kind of has a small tally of what's missing and what needs to be done. They're just trying to find the right place, the right size class for some of those characters and getting them out when they get an opportunity. And Nate also adds that some even of the more common characters, like the Megatrons, the Shockwaves, and the Soundwaves, that have not gotten the 86 treatment, also, those are things that are on the table and they're just waiting for that right time and place for it to happen. So just to be patient for that. And I agree. Again, it's something where I've talked about it before. A wave of deluxes is only 4 slots, and we're kind of also normalizing a carryover and a package refresh from stuff from before. So, if you have a whole series of legacy and you only have 4 waves there, that's at most, if you're lucky, 16 new deluxes, again, with a package refresh, let's say 14. So it's really about opportunity, openings, and finding that right place. Stuff like the weirder stuff like Target Masters, Headmasters, Trigger Cons, that won't be in an 86 treatment anytime soon. That will fit more in that Classics-esque, Generations-esque, Legacies-esque, whatever you want to label it at this point. We'll call it late Legacy for now until the next name. But yeah, that's something where, again, it's more about opportunity, price point, and the price point then determines those opportunities. Voyagers are 2 per wave. Leaders are 2 per wave. Commanders and Titans are 1 per line, so it's something where you got to pick your places. They want to know, what's the update on Transformers Reactivate? And Nate from marketing covered this one, and he said, and I quote exactly what Nate said here, that ... We'd love to give you an update. We'd truly love to, but we don't have one. So still waiting on Reactivate, still waiting on what's going on with that. I think we might have to, in a lot of ways, just settle with what we have right now and maybe move on to whatever will be the next video game. Kind of a shame, but that's what happens when you have partners and licenses. Sometimes that's out of your control, and all you could do is poke them and go, hey, what's up? But never get a clear answer. That's just how it is, unfortunately. The question comes up of what's the future of Core Class? Again, this has always been a hot topic over the past couple of weeks. Evan says, I don't think you'll be missing out on Core Class figures. They're still going to continue and trickle out. They just have to find a spot for them with the current retail space. Nate also mentions that they'll still find a place for it within the line, especially when how it works with scale and lore and stuff like that, giving an example of the upcoming Dino King, which consists of, again, the core classes from the Dinobots before, which will be a PulseCon exclusive released on September 13th, 2024. But he also dropped a mention of Minicons being something they haven't played with for a while, so stay tuned. So, what's going on with that? But, I mean, the way to kind of interpret that is, the price point will still exist. It'll just probably find its place in other areas instead of just being a solid SKU for itself now. But, again, that's just kind of how I read it, and whatever will be the next thing that'll fit that retail space to protect that space for Hasbro, we will see. We will see. is Hasbro running out of characters to do for the Titan class? Is there a concern at all? And then Nate said, I don't think we'll ever run out of Titans. And then Evan said, yeah, we'll never run out of Titans. And I agree with that. I think there's so many meat left on that bone. And by the time you get to even the meat on all of that bone I'm just mentioning, you then could revisit stuff that are now 10-year-old, 15-year-old ideas. I mean, we're still talking the Axelon, if you want to create a transformation for that, the Dark Side, again, the 2 Beast Wars ideas. By the time you do those, revisiting a G1 Metroplex, doing a new tooling for that, because that really was a War for Cybertron almost kind of Metroplex. Doing repaints of that Metroplex, of Metro Titan. By the time you get to that, hey, you want to revisit Trypticon? You want to do a Gigastorm? Like that John Warden era Trypticon tooling. Like there's so much there. Animated Omega Supreme. Like there's plenty left. There's plenty left. It's something where what I just mentioned right now is probably like 5 to 6 years of Titan classes. By the time you get just to those, if you did just all of those that I just mentioned, you can then go back and revisit the Fortress Maximuses, the classic Omega Supremes, the dare I say even something like a Scorponok and a Black Zarek if you want to do that. But again, it is what it is. It's pretty clear cut, those ones. Will Devastator, that we talked about for Studio Series 86, will he have a frame concept similar to Menasor and the Combiner Team elements that we were familiar with Legacy? Evan said, Devastator will combine much like he does all those many years ago, and will not have the unique frame combining concept like Motormaster and Menasor. Devastator is very kibble heavy, so expect the expected. And then Nate mentioned that they'll also keep the scale from the established scale that existed over the past 5 years for Devastator. So this is no surprise. Again, go check out my last segment that I did talking about Devastator for Studio Series and how that's going to kind of roll out. I mean, there's no surprises with that. Devastator is one of those that by the arms being deluxes, you right away have to forfeit the idea of any built-in combiner limbs. That's kind of just how it is. You just got to look at the price point, how the budget's going to work for some of those limbs and where they fit on the greater Devastator design. Keep in mind, Devastator's not a scramble city design. It's not flip around. You could put them around. Each guy has their own designated area that cannot be changed. So you use a little bit of logic and you can kind of figure out what's going on here just from a budgetary design and everything standpoint. So check that. Here's another one with HasLab Omega Prime Optimus Prime Fire Convoy. Can we expect his eternal rival in Gigatron, aka RID Megatron, in the future? Evan says Yuki-san wants to make RID Gigatron Megatron. John says he sure does. That's tricky. What scale do you do it with? He's almost Commander class, right? And Evan says if you follow the animation accuracy, he even is pretty much even bigger. Almost like a small Titan. So if you want him to scale with Omega Prime, you're going to have to make him pretty big. The original toy was quite tiny compared to, his Omega Prime Godfire Convoy counterpart. And to make it animation accurate, just look back at, let's say, the final episode of Car Robots. You got Devil Gigatron, aka pretty much the same mold, the Megatron mold, Gigatron mold, up against Omega Prime with the giant Godfire sword or the Omega blade, and they're scale to scale with each other. So you're talking something that will have to be like a small Titan class, but that'd be, something that it would have to almost be a Titan class because you're talking a 6-changer, or in the case of his repaint, the Devil Gigatron Galvatron, a 12-changer. That's a lot of parts. That's a lot of pieces. That's a lot of deco. That's a lot of plastic sprues of different colors for the factory. That's a lot of transformation. That figure is such a product of a different era, that late Beast Wars Neo 90s going into the early 2000s with Car Robots, that we, right after that, we went into the more blocky, toyetic Armada era, that it's something where for it to exist today, it would almost have to be a larger price point item that could then allocate that budget and be able to do it proper. Now, we say a Titan class, it won't be a absolutely massively huge Titan class version of the character, but it'll definitely probably be something in a Titan box that has the Titan budget to pull that off. And I mean, if it sells well and it works, you know, it's something that they could then do the Devil Gigatron Galvatron repaint, maybe reuse that Deathsaurus trademark and give it the BotCon retool if they want to do that. And if they really want to squeeze one last one out of that, you know, the Beast Wars Megatron repaint that BotCon did in its final year. I mean, I always say if you could get a few ideas out of a mold too, then you got a good idea. And especially if they're good selling ideas and they kind of work with trademarks. So that's, again, something to kind of consider. But I would dig that. And I think it would make sense. It really does. I mean, to do a RID Megatron, Gigatron as a Voyager or a leader, it would be so tiny, and it would just be retreading what we already got in the past in, 2000, 2001. So something that's bigger, better, more robust, again, kind of like what they did with Magmatron. I agree with that. That's totally how they would have to go about it, just to make it work with people who've already invested with the HasLab. That's going to be a big, beefy item. Can we see an Armada Jetfire for a Commander class Armada Optimus Prime companion combiner element? John Warden answered this. It's something Hasbro always asks about, and Armada Prime already has the tooling and compatibility installed for when the time comes to make it happen. So, again, stay tuned. Then we have the question here, are there any characters that you've done before that you'd like to redo as a Commander class? Say like an Overlord or a Six-Shot. John Warden covers this because, again, he kind of was like doing Overlord and Six-Shot as leaders during Titan's return, and John Warden said he loved Overlord and the G1 Japanese universe and how deep it is, and that's why Overlord was in the Titan's return line, due to his love for that character. He imagines Overlord being done again today, though, as a massive Titan class figure to be done right. And he also wants to revisit some other characters like G1 Roadbuster and World, because he has a special place in his heart for them too. A Titan class Overlord would be great. It's just that then makes me go, if you do go the Jinrai route, the God Jinrai route, how big is he going to be? Because for scale reasons, you got to, again, Overlord's always going to tower over Jinrai, but how big is going to be your Jinrai then at some point? Especially a God Jinrai. Like, you got it. Like, where does that go? Because that Overlord, I'm very curious how big of a Titan that would be. But I mean, it would be cool. I love that character. I own the original. I own the Titans version, and even the Sakamoto repaints. Like, that's a very cool, unique character and design and stuff. So I'm very curious to see what they would do for a Titan version and how they could add extra to that. The Power Master, God Master gimmick, everything. Very curious. What sort of things would you like to include in Studio Series concept art series for the future? John says, oh man, that's a hard one. I'm a big fan of Transtech and that stuff that Aaron Archer was doing back in the day. Nice Aaron Archer shout out there. This would be really pushing the envelope in terms of proportions and style. Something that was a desperate piece of the Transformers universe that we'd love to give a tribute to. We have a bunch of concepts already down the pipeline for Michael Bay universe stuff. So, I mean, that would be, that's a great thing that I didn't even think of. Think about it. Like, we never got Transtech proper anywhere. Little homages here and there through different Transformer product throughout the years, but never anything that was truly labeled as Transtech product. If we could get some of those crazy Transtech characters and designs made into Studio Series stuff, yo man, sign me up. Can we, like, the Optimus as like a leader, or the Starscream, or the Cheetor, maybe the Cheetor as a Voyager or something? Man, that is going to be wild if we get that. That'd be so cool. Would it sell well? I don't know. A Transtech Optimus you could probably get away with because it's an Optimus at the end of the day and people will buy that. The Cheetor, that might be more of a stretch. It's hard to say what the market is. Again, the Cheetors didn't exactly move for Rise of the Beast, so how many Cheetors will move here? The Starscream, kind of the same thing. You have to really say, are you selling a Starscream, or are you selling a Starscream that's a Transtech product? That's a lot less of people caring. But for a guy like me, that's exciting. For the mass audience, that might be more of a harder sell, but you never know. Again, stuff like the concept art Bumblebee Megatron sold because it was a Megatron that has a G1 aesthetic, regardless of being a concept item. So maybe a Transtech Optimus could at least happen, just based on it being an Optimus with a unique design, and make it a one and done. But yeah, that would be great, though. That's really cool. I would love that. And again, they said Michael Bay movie concept stuff is still coming, so stay tuned for that. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor from that. God knows what there is. Are you still interested in doing accessory packs? We haven't gotten any for a while. And then John Warren said, oh my God, when I worked on G.I. Joe, my team worked on G.I. Joe and Transformers, and we've been big fans of in-universe accessory packs, and we're always pushing for more parts and pieces and lore items. Yes, there will be more accessory packs. I love them. So that's great to hear. I love the accessory packs. They always include little extras and stuff that we don't expect, some little deep cuts. And, you know, it's great for photography, and the Transformer fandom are some of the greatest photographers in the toy world. Mark and Evan are both great at doing photography with their Instagram. So when even Hasbro internal and their Instagram accounts are doing great stuff with photography, give them a bunch of accessories, have a lot of fun. I mean, and shout out even to the Takara Tomy guys, whoever do the photography there. They know how to make some great photos too with their masterpiece stuff and all the accessories those things come with. So yeah, bring on those accessory packs. You know, if you have to mold them in one color and do little deco hits to keep it affordable and throw it in a cardboard box as a pack-in with something, sure, make it happen. You know, just strategically place it. Everything's gray, so all gray stuff and a few deco hits to make it happen for stuff that's kind of not just 100% gray. But, I mean, I'm down for that. That's great. This one's interesting because it could be a potential future crossover, but maybe not in our Western region, but the TFW's interview said, you guys stated that Legacy Thundertron has some Zoid-esque design cues. Would you ever consider a Transformers Zoid collaboration possibility, maybe considering the fact that it is owned by Takara Tomy and you guys could do stuff? John says, it's a really interesting idea. We're coming up on a big anniversary for Zoid soon, and we're always trying to push the envelope on doing something different. I don't see why this couldn't be something that could happen, specifically Zoids, like a Liger Zero. TFW obviously fires back with, or Gojulus, Cannon Tortoise. And John's like, oh, Gojulus is great too. Cannon Tortoise is an excellent design. I feel like we're in touch. We're really in touch with Zoids. We could probably come up with something, especially with an animated series anniversary. It would be cool. And I agree. But I feel it's something that probably, if it does happen, it'll probably be a Takara Tomy product on the side, much like how we have, like, we have crossover stuff, and they really are Takara Tomy exclusive crossover stuff that we've gotten in the past. I could see that more being a Takara item, but at the end of the day, as us as collectors, that doesn't mean we won't have ease of access to it. It'll probably be on Hasbro Pulse for pre-order, or they'll probably have other opportunities through different partnerships and different retailers in order to get it. So I could see it happening. It just probably won't be on a Walmart shelf or a Target shelf. It'll be something that'll be an online purchase. But yeah, makes sense. The Zoids market, unfortunately, in the West never took off 100%. There's been multiple tries, but it never gets the legs that it gets in, obviously, Japan. It's a model kit building thing. I literally just came from a convention just 24 hours ago that was all about model kits and Gundam and Bandai, and those discussions always come up of why the breakthrough isn't 100% there, because the Western market and model kit building just isn't the same, I guess, culturally as it is in Japan. And that's a whole other discussion for a whole other podcast, but yeah, so it's something where it could happen, totally, but it'll probably be a Takara Tomy product. And it'd be cool. It'd be really cool. I would dig that. Liger Zero, that's hype as hell, so that'd be great. And that's it, more or less. There was a few other questions, but nothing too major to kind of dive into that really gave us solid answers. So I hope you guys enjoyed all of this, and hopefully my voice will recover over the next couple of days, and you won't have to hear this deep voice that I'm losing. But thanks again for listening to the Transformer Slag podcast, and we are now back consistently over the next couple weeks. I know the podcast has suffered over the past couple weeks or so because of just one convention after another, and just recovery time, travel time, being in the air, and it's been nuts. So we'll talk again really soon. We'll go back to doing live streams on Saturday and everything. We're back. Thank you for being fans, and we'll talk to you in the near future.